to Iran now, where the first execution has been carried out over the recent anti-government unrest. The gentleman has been identified by officials as Mohsen Shekari, accused of injuring a security guard with a machete and blocking a street in Tehran. He'd been participating in nationwide protests that erupted after the death of a Kurdish Iranian woman, Mahsa Amini, in September. The 22-year-old died while in the custody of Iran's morality police. The protests represent one of the biggest challenges to the Islamic Republic since its establishment in 1979. Well, for more on this, let's speak to Laila Jayayeri, Director of the Association of Anglo-Iranian Women in the UK. She works with the Iranian opposition known as the National Council of Resistance of Iran. And Laila joins me now from London. Thank you very much indeed for joining us. Just remind us of who this executed gentleman was and what exactly he was accused of.
Well, Mohsen Shekari was a 23-year-old innocent man who participated in the uprising. And on the 25th of September, as regime claims, he had blocked a road, a street called Sattar Khan, and has wounded one of the security forces, no doubt in self-defense. This was his crime, which cannot be punished by death, even to regime's own law. So they executed him, and there are another 28, according to Amnesty International, on death row waiting to be executed. In fact, this young man was the only breadwinner of the family. It's so sad, and Mrs. Mariam Rajavi, the president-elect of National Council of Resistance of Iran, today said that this execution, in fact, is a clear sign of desperation by the supreme leader Khamenei in the face of the uprising in Iran and the fact that there is a prospect of being toppled. She said that it will anger people and that the protesters and the youth of Sattar Khan Street will not leave it unanswered.
And we'll try and talk about the possible reaction to that execution. But I mean, he's the first protester that we know who's been executed for involvement in this wave of protest. But there are others, aren't there? I understand at least 11 others who've been sentenced to death. And we understand that some of their appeals have already been rejected.
Yes, I believe the regime is basically checking. They want to know what would be the response by the people and by the international community. If you go on social media, it's filled with messages of people calling that they would come together tonight in Tehran and various towns and cities to respond to this execution, saying to Khamenei that we will not back off. So this would be the response of the people. Khamenei wants to scare people, and he's done everything. He's cracked on protesters. He used maximum force. He's killed 700, arrested over 30,000. No execution. And if the international community stays silent, they would continue this execution. As I said, according to Amnesty International a few days ago, Amnesty believes there are 28 people on death row. They are charged with enemies of God.
So let me ask you this, because you mentioned the expectations. I mean, what are the demonstrators and opposition people like yourself hoping for now? Are you perhaps hoping to see a new level of outrage internationally over what's happened, which could lead to more action to show that what the consequences could be for the Iranian government?
Absolutely. People of Iran are continuing to come to the streets. They will not back off. The point is, what would the international community do now? Words, condemnation is good. Today I hear that European Union in general, Britain, Germany and France, they all condemned it. But we need proper condemnation in terms of taking real actions. What needs to be done to help the people of Iran and to prevent further execution is to put real pressure on the regime, close down the embassies of this regime, send the terrorist diplomats of this regime back to Iran, and designate the Revolutionary Guards on the terrorism list. These are the actions that we expect international community to take.
Well, as I'm sure you know, Laila, disappointing as it may be, I'm sure you know that those consequences are unlikely to be strong enough to have any real controlling impact on what the Iranian authorities do.
On the contrary, I think this is a regime that understands no language but the language of firmness and decisiveness. If you are not decisive, if you are not firm against this regime, they are like bullies. If you stand firm against them, they back off. Bullies, deep down, they are scared of resistance, of firm actions. We have to stand firm against them. Otherwise, they continue execution. If you will stand firm, if international community stand behind Iranian people and the protesters, that would send a clear signal to the regime. And it will limit the regime. It would tighten the regime's hands.
Laila, thank you very much indeed for talking to us again. Laila Jayayeri is director of the Association of Anglo-Iranian Women in the UK. She works with the Iranian opposition known as the National Council of Resistance of Iran.